Hello and welcome back to CBR MTG. My name is Angus Mackay and today we are round 2 of GP Melbourne. This is the Highlander Championship side event. We have Thomas Hattie on Rug Lands, and not Rug, it's Jund Lands, and Josh Sowski on Flashpod. Lachlan, run us through Flashpod. How does it work? What does it do?
So this is a Hulk version of Flashpod.
Sure.
You use the card Flash, which gives you a reduction on the next creature spell you cast, but you got to pay then 2 more, so it doesn't kind of give you a reduction. Basically, it puts a creature into play, and then you have to sack it or pay its cost reduced by 2. So with Hulk, Protein Hulk in particular, when it dies, you can search your library for any number of creature cards with total CMC of 6. In this particular version, Josh has elected to use the Karmic Guide, Revelark, Carrion Feeder, or Viscera Seer, getting back the Revelark and Karmic Guide, which gets back the Hulk, and you sack the Hulk again, and then he's got a Zulaport Cutthroat, which is something that whenever a creature dies, their opponent loses life, and you have a Safi Eriksdotter, which puts a shield on a creature, so when this creature dies, it comes back. With Revilark and Safi, you can kind of, you put the shield on Revilark, and then Revilark brings back Karmic Guide, which brings back a creature, and Safi brings back the Revilark. So you're kind of like looping these creatures, and they're coming in and out of play and dying a lot, which is triggering the Zulaport Cutthroat.
Very convoluted way to win the game, but once you lock it down, it's probably pretty straightforward from there. You can just tell your opponent, I'm going to sacrifice a bunch of things, don't worry about it, and then have them concede.
Yeah. This is it was a popular archetype. It's been around for a while. It's been a bit of a boogeyman of the format in the past. We can see Josh's opening hand here containing a Fauna Shaman, which will allow him to fetch up a Hulk, and that Spellseeker is going to be able to fetch up a Flash. So he's pretty much got the combo happening. Probably around turn 5-ish we're looking at here, I think. We've also got a Pact as backup for protecting the combo, which is pretty good.
Yeah, probably won't need to use the Pact at this point, but...
Well, yeah, he would die, so that is another good reason to not use the Pact at this point.
Even though in this matchup, quite certainly.
Well, sure. I mean, he would love to use it against a removal spell, because there are removal spells that can disrupt the combo, especially if the pilot is a little more inexperienced. And Thomas, from his perspective, unless he knows what is going on Josh's side, I don't think he really knows what's going on.
Okay. In
terms of having a good understanding, because all he's seen is green and white lands and a Fauna Shaman, and he might just think it's some kind of random shitters deck.
Yeah, for sure. We we do have excuse me, we do have the capability to play the Spellseeker out, which has been a bit on the watch list in the Highlander format. If you haven't been privy to the discussions yet, it's a 2. I think it's a 2/2 for 3, and
it's a 1/1.
It's a 1/1, even worse. And when it ETBs, you search your library for a card with an instance or sorcery with converted mana cost 2 or less, which is actually really, really strong in a singleton format, especially strong in one where you're trying to play competitive cards like Time Walk and Ancestral Recall and Flash. So it actually suits really well in this deck and was probably a pretty easy inclusion for Josh.
Yeah, I'm not really sure why the players are just working out what happens with Corsair Crucifix and Sylvan Library here. I'm not really sure why Josh didn't just choose to run out Spellseeker and get Flash. Maybe concerned about discard from his opponent, although he hasn't really seen any black, so I don't know why, unless of course he has prior knowledge of the matchup. Why, and even then he has a Pact. I think just playing the Spellseeker here, getting the Flash in hand, and then you just win next turn.
Yeah.
And even if your opponent does try to disrupt you with a discard spell to take the Flash, you can just pact it, and then in the upkeep you can discard a creature to the Fauna Shaman, get a Hulk, flash the Hulk, and then win.
You can still Fauna Shaman in your opponent's turn here. So if assuming Death Threat Shaman can make mana next
Yeah,
turn,
yeah. That
get that?
relies on Death Threat Shaman making mana this turn. Next turn, and currently it can't do that.
Yeah.
So I think I like the line of like guaranteeing that you win next turn as opposed to being a little bit safer because you do have that pact protecting you.
Sure. It's also possible Josh is just putting a lot of value on
Getting
disinformation or misleading his opponent because at the moment it looks mostly like he's playing elves rather than Thomas suspecting he might just suddenly be dead next turn.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of weirdness going on here because like from Thomas's perspective, if he does put him on elves, like he would think his hand is just like 1,000,000 5-drops, I guess.
Yep. It would be a pretty bad elves hand.
Yeah, it would be a bad elves hand for sure.
Which might lead Tom to commit more to the board, which would give Josh more information before he decides to win. So really, that's kind of what he wants to have happen.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're seeing the Golgari Queen come down here, the 4-mana Vraska, and it's gonna take care of this Fauna Shaman, forcing an activation from Josh here, and Josh is grabbing a Protein Hulk.
I guess that's a good enough
described.
reason.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good enough reason not to play the Spellseeker out first because you want to get that Fauna Shaman activation.
Well, he has the pact to stop
Sure.
any disruption on that angle.
He didn't actually play a blue land, so he wouldn't be able to flash in response to a pact trigger in his upkeep.
But
he would have had to play Spellseeker.
Sure.
I also think perhaps that deploying the Tundra here is also better. I think Josh is placing a little too much emphasis on now we see the Fauna Shaman actually dying to the Vraska. I think Josh has placed a little too much emphasis on hiding information because it's kind of just cost him a turn and it's just slowing him down.
Sure.
At this
Cat's
point.
out of the bag now.
Yeah.
It's going to have to search out that flash, but without the capability to cast it because Death Threat Shaman does need a land in the graveyard for it to activate. But I think he has the win otherwise, right? If he just needs...
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
So as long as he doesn't get thought teased, he's got to win.
Even I don't because he has the pact.
Because he's got a pact,
yeah. I don't think even a Thoughtseize effect can really save Thomas here.
So what does Tom need to get out of this situation?
God, he would need he would need two points of interaction. I think.
Sure.
Yeah.
So 2 Thought Seizers or something else. You can't actually interact with it very well after the flash is resolved, right?
There are points of interaction depending on what the creatures that are summoned are. Mm-hmm. If Josh just goes straight for like Karmic Guide, Sack Outlet, there is a point there where you can kill the Sack Outlet.
Okay.
And then they just got back a Hulk, and then
sure,
they just have a Karmic Guide and a Hulk. But if Josh goes for a little bit more conservative play, he does have the Revilarch in hand, which is a bit unfortunate. One of the problems with playing a Hulk deck, even not in a singleton format. This was because of the way the Hulk deck functions. A lot of your pieces are singleton, even when you're playing Advantage and Legacy. When the deck was a menace. If you drew your pieces, it was a bit awkward because you only really had one of each of the pieces, so you had a bit of redundancy in your combo. And luckily with Highlander, you're rewarded for having redundancy even more so because you need to have different ways to interact with different opponents. And some of the Hulk kills involve combat, some involve direct damage. There's many different ways to kill your opponent when you're hulking them. Yeah, that's for sure.
So was there any reason that Josh chose the Fiend Hunter that is now in the graveyard over the Revelarch in hand with his only Fauna Shaman activation?
I think that Revilarch as a creature is just a better creature.
Okay. If you need to
hardcast it, and also it can let you win on the spot with its evoke ability. You can just get back a Karmic Guide, which can get back a Hulk, and then so on and so forth. There. You can get back a sack outlet as well with the Rylock ability because it gets back 2 guys.
Okay. Seems reasonable.
But yeah, we're gonna see Thomas decay on this Deathrite Shaman here. I don't think he really understands about his death.
Well,
which is incredibly intimate. So, well, he could not randomly Abrupt Decay.
Sure, I guess holding an Abrupt Decay to potentially interact with a combo piece would probably be better.
Yeah, for sure. I think there is. I assume there's a combination of creatures in Josh's deck whereby he could operate through that. Funnily enough, in this instance, the pact doesn't stop the decay. So his protection is a little bit awkward, for sure.
But thankfully it's gone for now. So
yeah. And here we see Flash Hulk, Hulk dying, library gets picked up. I believe we'll just see Karmic Guide and Carrion Feeder here, or Karmic Guide and Viscera Seer.
Is there any card that he might have that will allow him to discard the cards that he has in hand?
I don't think there's a Body Snatcher. If I can quickly pass through the library. Maybe there's a Body Snatcher in there. Body Snatcher says, here we see he's going for a little bit of a backup plan here. So this is getting a Rector, sacking the Rector to the Carrion Feeder, getting a Pattern of Rebirth. Pattern of Rebirth goes on the Dryad Arbor. You sack the Dryad Arbor. Pattern of Rebirth triggers, letting you get any creature from your library into play, which kind of is getting around the Revile Arc being gone.
Yep.
This is definitely the Protean Hulk kill with the most steps.
It is a pretty complicated one. Yeah, as I was saying, Body Snatcher is a 4-mana, I think 2/2 that when it comes into play, you got to discard a creature card, and when it dies, you can exile it and get back a creature. It's kind of like an Academy Rector for reanimating creatures.
Okay.
Here we go. All right.
So it looks
a bunch of idiots.
Yeah. So Karmic Guide will be able to get back the Protean Hulk, and then the sacking of the Protean Hulk will get the rest of the pieces that are needed to close out this game.
This particular loop is Safi on the Karmic Guide.
Yeah.
Sack the Karmic Guide, trigger the Cutthroat, drain you. Karmic Guide comes back, brings back Safi on the Karmic Guide, and so on and so forth. Yeah.
Very, very convoluted. And Tom, maybe playing against it before, maybe not, but seems like a very sort of hard deck to interact with unless you know all the moving pieces, especially with the extra convoluted way that Josh went about winning that game.
Yeah. Well,
it's definitely possible that Thomas is more familiar with the Mog Bomber's kill.
Sure.
Which is Mog Bombers being a creature that when another creature enters the battlefield, you sacrifice it to deal 3 damage. So you find Mog Bombers and just basically every 0-drop that's been printed.
Yeah, it's like 7 0-drops, right?
Yeah.
For 21, yeah.
I think they play a couple of extras just in case they draw some, because some of them are just fine creatures like Walking Ballista.
Yeah.
But that one is...
You get Chamber Sentry now, that goes okay.
It's much harder to interact with an Abrupt Decay.
Yeah.
We're seeing just a little thumb through of Thomas's deck. We didn't really go through the sort of talking about how this deck works, but sort of Abzan lands or Gardening Australia is the main lands deck that you usually see, but Tom's playing a very spicy version with Valakut and Scapeshift in there as well, but the extra special card that we saw in round 1 as well was the Experimental Frenzy, so getting a real treat being able to see it 2 times in 2 games.
Yeah, it's very cool. We can also see the Scapeshift Valakut package and a couple of Dwarven Miners. We have Dwarven Blast Miner, who is the morph version of Dwarven Miner, and both of them are repeatable wastelands. I believe they're both 2 and a red, tap, destroy target non-basic land. So
Nice.
Dust Bowl on a creature pretty much. And we're just seeing some discard pumping in here. Josh looking at some kind of generic permanent bounce coming out for more targeted kind of artifact and enchantment removal as he prepares for the inevitable Relic of Progenitus and Tormod's Crypt and Spellbomb and whatever other graveyard hate your opponent decides to put in.
It looked like Josh also boarded in at least a Thoughtseize and possibly more hand disruption. Do you think that's just to try and Thoughtseize out hate cards like that Relic and other pieces?
I think you also want to be able to. This is a little more of an interactive matchup, I guess, because the unfortunate thing with using this particular version of the Flash Hulk kill is that you are actually a little bit weak to creature removal at certain points, depending on which pieces you draw, depending on how late the game goes, etc., etc. There's a lot of factors involved in how exactly you can execute this kill. I think not being cold to something like a Cursed Totem might be also nice.
Yeah.
I
think just just having a peek. Like, he also saw the Abrupt Decay, which means that the counter spells that he has isn't actually that good. So he'll probably want to bring in just a little bit of hand disruption just to make sure that everything's clear to go.
Thomas can only play 1 Abrupt Decay.
Sure.
But it's definitely just knowing what your opponent has is sometimes powerful enough.
You kind of fall into a trap where you verse non-blue decks and you think, oh, maybe I can skimp on the interaction, but Thomas has a bunch of ways of dealing with it, especially post-board with the Nihil Spellbomb and the Relic of Progenitus to stop Josh from enacting his game plan.
Yeah, definitely. This version of the Protein Hulk kill also potentially weak to graveyard interaction.
Definitely. We're seeing our opening hands now coming out. Wild Cantor and Pattern of Rebirth and Thoughtseize. So starting to look like a pretty good hand from Josh's side. The Green Sun Zenith. Possibly not wanting to keep the Protein Hulk, but I think all in all, you could probably get some value out of it.
No, Hulk in hand is where you want it because that's where you flash it from.
Sure. Okay, that seems reasonable.
Having a Dryad Arbor in the deck means he can Green Suns for Dryad Arbor, and he's drawn a land for turn as well. That he's to the top, He's all set for mana.
Yeah, great. We see Thomas leading with the classic Sensei's Divining Top being one of the main decks to kind of continue using top post points. So I've recently received 1 point. Not that recent, but recent enough. But lands, whenever you're playing Loam, it seems like that's where you're kind of getting enough value that it's worth spending the point.
Well, it's more that the deck has a spare point and you may as well spend it on top because nothing else is really good enough. Because the deck previously played top before it was pointed, and it kind of had a spare point. It's always kind of like fluctuated between like top or Caracas or Mind Twist. Not so much now that Mind Twist is back to 2 points.
Yep.
But yeah, it was always kind of a bit of a 6-point deck. But
that's the perfect place for a Sensei's Divining Top to live.
Yeah, for sure. And Josh, we saw him deliberating whether or not he was going to turn 1 Thoughtseize or Green Sun Zenith, and we're seeing the duress coming in hot from Thomas's side.
Yeah, not a whole lot of options, either the Pattern of Rebirth or the opposing hand disruption in the Thoughtseize, but I mean, his hand looks fine. I mean, it seems crazy not to take the turn 1 Green Sun Zenith for Dryad Arbor in most instances, but protecting your hand was definitely a consideration that Josh made.
Yeah, I think we're seeing the Thoughtseize taken here, which is a bit of an interesting one. I don't know whether I would have just taken the pattern, but maybe Thomas has a hate card of his own he'd like to protect from getting thought seized.
Sure.
If he has a particularly potent hate card in hand that he can run out next turn, it makes sense. The only way he's really going to die here is if Josh just rips Flash off the top.
Yeah. Or a way to cast Flash, or a way to get Flash into his hand, rather, with Spellseeker.
Well,
sure, but that wouldn't be an immediate death.
He could, I'm not sure if the deck is playing Gamble. Maybe he could gamble for it, and then he would have enough mana to immediately Flash afterwards.
I'm not sure that the deck is in red, but...
Yeah.
It's all colors. It can produce all colors. Yeah.
Sure.
We see with the mana confluence in hand. I was wondering that before, considering seems to be a primarily Bant deck, but still containing those thought seizes as well. So having to play the mana confluence just to respect that.
It's mostly 4 color, but sometimes you do need to produce red mana.
Yeah, sure.
One of the kills can involve Kiki Jiki, which I've seen people use.
It's pick your poison at this point.
Yeah.
See Josh ripping a Elves of Deep Shadow off the top with the very cool, very realistic art.
Yeah, from the dark.
Yeah, from the dark.
Yeah,
very
I've
nice.
seen these 1/1s battle in, not wanting to trade the Star Confidant quite yet.
Yeah.
Electing to take a point off this mana confluence to deploy an Elves of Deep Shadow.
Any reason not wanting to crack the fetch at this point?
I think probably if Thomas plays a Loam effect here, kind of thing.
Sure.
Just wanting to have a source that can't be stripped, I think.
Yeah,
is,
There's also just not much reason to crack it. And if Josh is playing cards like Brainstorm or Sylvan Library, being able to shuffle away cards he doesn't want
for sure
is very powerful.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't think this matchup is really going to come down to life loss. All right, well, Pattern of Rebirth hitting the bin here, I think.
Yeah, seems.
Oh no, Hulk. Okay, fair enough.
Hulk in the bin. We can get Revelark or Karmic Guide with the Pattern of Rebirth, correct?
Yeah, we should be able to. All things permitting, you should be able to enchant Wild Cantor with Pattern next turn, and God, there's got to be.
There's a flash.
There's a lucky thought
it's
seize.
unfortunate, yeah.
Probably would have ended very poorly for Thomas if he had not thought seized there.
So you can Pattern the Cantor, and then you can get a Karmic Guide, which will get back Hulk, but you can't sack the Hulk.
Yeah, right.
So
still a little bit away. Is there this deck seems convoluted enough that you could possibly try to mise your opponent by just saying, I'm going to get this, and this without actually being able to do it. So something to keep in the tank.
Funny story on that actually. A player at a Grand Prix famously was undefeated at 5-0 playing Flash Hulk.
Oh yeah.
And they'd borrowed the deck, and they got to the 6th round, and their opponent was like, flashed, put the Hulk, and their opponent was like, okay, how do you kill me? And they had no idea, because they had borrowed the deck, and every other round their opponent had just been like, yeah, okay, I'm dead.
Yeah.
And they lost. They had no idea. And then in between that round, they learnt how to kill their opponent, and then they kept on winning.
Next time.
Yeah.
It's definitely one way to do it. We are taking a couple of points here to do the Pattern of Rebirth line, as you mentioned, but it's not game over yet. So hopefully Thomas sticks in. Thomas being a little bit greedy, playing out this Relic of Progenitus and leaving Flash Hulk leaving the Protein Hulk in the bin without the ability to sacrifice it. But we'll see if he can survive another turn. It's definitely not over yet, but it's not looking good.
Yeah, I don't know about this. I think getting the Eternal Witness and putting the Hulk in hand might be better overall, because the Hulk doesn't actually really do anything in play.
Yeah.
It's just a 6/6.
There's no way to get rid of it unless Josh just happens to draw one of his sacrifice outlets.
Yeah. If we draw Viscera Seer,
maybe that's his plan, to just like mise a sack outlet.
Or just attack for 6.
I mean it's
his A-line.
Well, there's a 0 orb on the other side, so I don't really know if combat is going to be how this game is decided.
Sure.
But I mean, it's worth a shot.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, it's definitely a line. Trying to find the sacrifice outlet is probably the way to go from here. But I definitely do like the line of the getting Eternal Witness, putting Protein Hulk back in hand.
Yeah, and I believe there is a way you can. I'm pretty sure there's a series of cards you can get that fights through one activation of a Graveyard Hate card.
Sure.
And also from then on, you just have a Flash Hulk in hand. You just have two mana kill your opponent. So you kind of lock Thomas into, if he ever taps out like he has at the moment, you would just be able to kill your opponent because you just have Flash Hulk in hand. So you just have 2 mana win the game on the spot.
Thomas definitely living life on the edge again.
Do you think Thomas might have been better off holding off on the Excavator, just activating Wasteland and leaving mana open for the Relic?
Yeah, I think so. I think you can't, from this point onwards, your opponent has a Hulk in play. They have a Flash in their hand. I think you need to basically enchant your Relic with a land. And this land sits here, and this is the Relic land that I activate my Relic with to not lose.
This definitely seems reasonable. Especially, you have to play very, very carefully, right? Because Flash is instant speed itself as well, so you could just die at any moment. And you have the key to stop that from happening with the Relics, so...
You're also dying to the 6/6 at the same time.
And you can't kill it either.
And you can't kill it. Well, maybe you can kill it and then use that as your point to activate the Relic.
Sure.
I think what Thomas needs to find here is an exploration. Or some kind of exploration effect that'll let him gain some mana advantage. Use this Zuran Orb to gain some life, so that you're not kind of suffering so much.
All you need is a fast bond to turn this combo on for infinite life.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's chosen to play out Sylvan Library here rather than leave mana open for the Relic, which I think is especially odd given he's got Sensei's top in play. Which accomplishes much of the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. And Josh's draw of Eldamri's Call here is going to demonstrate exactly why that's kind of a fatal error, unfortunately.
Josh has been pretty good on these top decks over this couple of games.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, Magic is one of those games where there's basically no skill involved, and it's all kind of just variance and luck based.
We'll tell Josh he said that.
Yeah. So here we go. Hulking up. Revile's going to come. Yeah, with no mana to activate the Relic, it's easy BBGG.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of lines to fight through here.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we can activate Relic once to exile a random land or something like that, but Tom's not going to go through it again.
Yep.
He's opting to allow Josh to save the clicks and just going to scoop it up from here.
Yep. See you later.
See you later, he says. So that was Josh taking it out with a impressive 2-0 finish against Tom Hattie on Jund Lands. Congratulations to both players. Josh having the 2-0 now, and we'll go into round 3 shortly. But please stay tuned for the rest of the day. We have a lot of matches to come and coming out of GP Melbourne. So thanks, guys.
Cheers, mate.